And amid the ongoing diplomatic standoff with Canada, India has ramped up its crackdown on Khalistani terrorists. The government of India has asked all its investigating agencies to cancel their overseas citizen of India cards so that they cannot enter India. Apart from this, the government of India has also asked for confiscation of properties owned by the identified terrorists and their families in India. Well, the development comes shortly after India's National Investigation Agency seized the property of wanted terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Punjab. Earlier this week, security forces launched raid on several locations of gangsters and terrorists operating from Canada. Separately, reports have surfaced that say that the US, along with other Five Eyes group partners, shared intelligence that led Canada to allege a potential Indian hand in the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Now, Nijjar was killed in Canada's Vancouver in June this year. In an interview to CTV News, US envoy to Canada David Cohen said, and I'm quoting here, "There was shared intelligence among Five Eyes partners that helped lead Canada to making the statements that the Prime Minister made," unquote. Now, earlier this week, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau told the Canadian Parliament that Ottawa had credible allegations for a potential link between the Indian government and the killing of Nijjar, who was a Canadian citizen. India has rejected the claims as absurd and motivated. And this triggered a diplomatic standoff between the two countries. Both the nations expelled each other's intelligence chiefs, issued travel advisory for its people as well. More like a tit-for-tat diplomacy taking place between India and Canada at the moment. Well, New Delhi even went on to suspend issuing new visas for Canadians. Now, the other Western nations initially refrained from speaking on the matter. But in recent days, the United States and other members of the Five Eyes intelligence sharing group have asked India to cooperate with Canada to get to the bottom of the matter. Now, India, on the other hand, demanded Canada to act to contain anti-India and separatist extremism in the country. New Delhi has called Canada a safe haven of terrorists. Ottawa has repeatedly failed to act on the leads provided by India to nab, extradite and also contain Khalistani terrorists. Now, on the Nijjar case, India has asked Canada to share the evidence that potentially links New Delhi to the murder. Canada says it has already shared the information weeks ago. But the Indian side says that the information lacked any specifics. Earlier, the Premier of Canada's British Columbia region, where the killing took place, also refused to share any specifics on the case, saying that all the information on the case is already in the public domain, a matter of frustration. Now, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is the highest-ranking US official to have spoken on the matter so far. He has requested India's cooperation in the investigation.
In that way.
Let's tell you more about this. Now, the widely reported India-Canada diplomatic standoff continues to make headlines around the world. At the core of the standoff lies a murder. The murder of Canadian citizen on Canadian soil. Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who was designated as terrorist by India. He was killed by two masked men in Canada's Vancouver in June this year. Months later, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau informed his parliament that Ottawa had credible allegations potentially linking the Indian government to the killing. A top Indian diplomat who was also India's intelligence chief in Canada was expelled following Trudeau's speech in Parliament last Monday. And this triggered harsh comments and actions from India, leading to a diplomatic standoff between both the countries. Now, at the heart of the issue lies the question of evidence. India has asked Canada to share specific evidence connecting India to the murder, but Canada has so far refused to provide the same, saying that sharing details in public would compromise the ongoing probe. Now, it has instead asked India to cooperate with the investigation. Now, Canada's close allies, US and the UK, have also urged India to cooperate with Canada on the matter to get to the bottom of the issue. But it seems that Canada was not alone in gathering the information that allegedly links India to the case. Reports say that American spy agencies also provided relevant information to Ottawa. In the latest, US ambassador to Canada has admitted that there was shared intelligence among Five Eyes partners that helped lead Canada conclude what its Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had said last week. The Five Eyes is an alliance of the intelligence agencies of the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand and Canada. The Second World War era intel sharing alliance between UK and the US was expanded twice, that is after the war, until 1956 when it got its present strength. Some source-based news reports also say that although some information was provided by the American agencies and the Five Eyes partners, but Canada itself developed the most definitive intelligence that led it to accuse India of orchestrating the plot. Also, reports also say that it was only after Nijjar was killed that the US intelligence agencies offered their Canadian counterparts the context that helped Canada conclude India's alleged involvement. It has also been reported that Canadian officials had informed and alerted Nijjar that he was in danger. However, there is very little information on whether the Canadian government knew of an alleged Indian hand before the killing took place or not. But reports say that Washington did not have any advance information on the alleged plot. Had that been the case, US would have been bound to inform Nijjar under the intelligence agency's duty to warn doctrine. Now, under this doctrine, US agencies are required to warn US and non-US citizens of impending threats of intentional killings, serious bodily injury or even kidnapping. But the question that remains at large is that how did Canada come to a conclusion that Indian government might have been involved? This brings us to a report by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. The report quoted unnamed government sources saying that the intelligence with Canadian agencies includes communications involving Indian officials, including Indian diplomats who are currently in Canada. The subsequent question being, was Canada spying on Indian diplomats? Is that how the so-called credible allegation was framed? And is this why the Canadian government has so far refused to share specific evidence linking India to the case? Questions that perhaps deserve answers.